everyone. It's Dr. Naomi Wolf, and I'm here today with a very disturbing update on the War Room Posse's research group's review of the documents that were internal documents to Pfizer before a court order forced the FDA to release them. It's a somber update. The War Room Posse has been finding a number of very, very concerning insights and bodies of evidence inside the Pfizer documents, and the lawyers, we have 250 lawyers, are working overtime to identify crimes and causes of action. There are a number of possible crimes that have been identified. I'm not going to go public with them until the lawyers tell me to. One of them is certainly fraud. That is public. We published an essay about that by one of the attorneys on the Daily Clout site, and other possible crimes are at least as severe. The volunteers have identified a range of concerns, ranging from the manufacture of the lipid nanoparticles in China, 6 statisticians working from Shanghai in China, all the way to undisclosed, vast undisclosed adverse effects, ranging from toxic oil syndrome to encephalitis, to a host of joint pain, muscle pain, myocarditis, pericarditis, and other heart problems, tachycardia, and other anomalies such as missing data, like systematically missing data. So they're diving more deeply into all of that, and we'll bring you reports as they proceed. The Team 5 report is on the Daily Clout website. What I want to do today, because it's so important for parents especially to know what this group of volunteers, highly skilled medical researchers, doctors, nurses, analysts, data analysts, what they're finding. I don't want to wait a minute more. So even before the Team 3 report is up, I want to just share with you one of the findings. So what I'm going to put in this video is a sheet showing the ingredients included in the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines as reported in the prescribing information. So the description, they both have mRNA, nucleoside modified mRNA encoding the viral spike S glycoprotein of SARS-CoV-2. One of them, the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, has 2 polyethylene glycol 2000N N-ditetradecylacetamide, and the Mrna has PEG 2000 with a different sequence of identifiers after it. So they both have polyethylene glycol, or PEG, which I'll get to in a minute. Both have 1,2-distearoyl SN-glycero-3 phosphocholine. So that's in both of them. Both have cholesterol. And I mention this because someone I love, a young woman who's healthy, and other healthy young people are going to their doctors and finding out that they have elevated cholesterol. Well, we found from the Pfizer documents that, contrary to what spokespeople, the bot media, CDC, FDA were saying, that the injection stayed in the bicep, or stayed in the arm, not in the bicep. What was actually happening was that the injection material went straight into the bloodstream. And from the bloodstream, within 48 hours, it went to the liver, adrenals, spleen, and ovaries. So this is concerning, because if the ingredients of both the Pfizer BioNTech and the Mrna vaccines include cholesterol, and the cholesterol is going right into your bloodstream, we know what cholesterol does. And I'm not a medical doctor, so this bears further investigation, but it raises concerns. Cholesterol is dangerous to your heart because it sticks to the inside of your arteries, as we all know, and can cause heart attacks. So I'm a layperson, but the fact that cholesterol is being injected directly into people's bloodstreams and they're having heart attacks or heart disease or heart damage really bears further investigation. Another ingredient in Pfizer is 4-hydroxybutyl azanidyl bis hexane 6,1 DIYL bis 2 hexyldecanoate. And that varies in the Mrna. It's SM102, and we're going to get to this, heptadecan 9YL8 2-hydroxyethyl 6-oxo6 undesiloxyhexylamino octanoate. So SM102 is in the Mrna vaccines, not in the Pfizer vaccines. Please pay attention to this because we have also established that there were different dosages for Pfizer and Mrna, that the first dose of Pfizer was 30 micrograms, and the first dose of Mrna was 100 micrograms. The internal documents show that 100 micrograms was realized to be too high, and they scaled it down due to reactogenicity, meaning people getting sick and dying. And they dropped that as a dose in the internal documents. However, those of you who got a first dose of Mrna, you were not told that 100 micrograms was too high and causing dangerous amounts of adverse effects. The reason I'm mentioning the more than triple dose of all the active ingredients in Mrna versus Pfizer and the SM102 in Mrna versus Pfizer is we also saw that there were 90,000 more adverse events reported in the internal documents for Mrna compared with Pfizer. And so we're looking at these ingredients side by side and seeing how do they differ. So there are salts, sugars, and buffers, which I believe are not really supposed to be important or active ingredients. I don't know, of course. Potassium chloride for Pfizer BioNTech versus tromethamine for Mrna. Monobasic potassium phosphate for Pfizer versus tromethamine hydrochloride for Mrna. Sodium chloride for Pfizer and acetic acid for Mrna. Dibasic sodium phosphate dihydrate for Pfizer versus sodium acetate for Mrna, and both of them have sucrose. So now I'm going to go to a document or two documents that were sent to us by one of the volunteers in Team 3. And they're dated January 19th, 2022, so pretty recent, and that's the printing date, I'm sorry, and they were revised on September 15th, 2021. And it's an OSHA safety data sheet from Cayman Chemicals. So this is looks like an internal industry praxis guideline for a private company called Cayman Chemical, which is using the OSHA safety data sheet. So the product identifier is SM102. Remember that SM102 is in the Mrna vaccine, not in the Pfizer vaccine. Remember that the Mrna vaccine has triple the amount of active ingredients. And remember too that the Mrna injection had in the internal documents 90,000 more adverse events. So SM102 is the trade name, and the identifier says this product is for research use, not for human or veterinary diagnostic or therapeutic use. Now that may mean that this particular document version of SM102 is only for research use, or it may mean that the product in general is not for human or veterinary diagnostic or therapeutic use. And this is Cayman Chemical Company, Ellsworth Road, Ann Arbor, Michigan, USA. And we'll certainly call them. But the classification of the substance or mixture is highly flammable. It has a skull and crossbones. It's acute toxicity 3, toxic if swallowed, and acute toxicity 3, toxic if inhaled. It has the health hazard symbol, carcinogen 1A, and it's an H350 may cause cancer. It goes on, SM102. It's an eye irritant 2A, causes serious eye irritation. GHS label elements, the product is classified and labeled according to the globally harmonized system hazard pictograms. So you've got the fire, the skull and crossbones, the exclamation point, and the starburst in the human chest for flammable, toxic, and possible carcinogen. The signal word is danger. The hazard determining components of labeling are ethanol. Hazard statements, highly flammable liquid and vapor, toxic if swallowed or if inhaled. I'm going to say that again, toxic if swallowed or inhaled. Causes serious eye irritation, may cause cancer. Precautionary statements, obtain special instructions before use. Do not handle until all safety precautions have been read and understood. Keep away from heat, wash thoroughly after handling, wear protective gloves, protective clothing, eye protection, face protection, use only outdoors or in a well-ventilated area. If swallowed, immediately call a poison center or a doctor. If on skin or hair, take off immediately all contaminated clothing, rinse skin with water, shower. If inhaled, remove person fresh air and keep comfortable for breathing. If in eyes, rinse cautiously with water. If exposed or concerned, get medical advice, attention. If eye irritation persists, get medical attention. Dispose, store locked up, dispose of contents in accordance with local and international regulations. So these are all the dangerous things that can happen to you with SM102 if you get it in your eyes, if you get it on your skin, if you swallow it or you inhale it. They don't have a category for what happens to you if you inject it. But this, according to OSHA, is a highly toxic substance. Chemical characteristic, general description of first aid methods. Immediately remove any clothing soiled by the product. Remove breathing apparatus only after contaminated clothing have been completely removed. After inhalation, supply fresh air or oxygen, call for doctor. In case of unconsciousness, place patient stably in side position for transportation. After skin contact, immediately wash with soap and water and rinse thoroughly. With eye contact, if symptoms persist, call a doctor. After swallowing, do not induce vomiting, immediately call for medical help. Most important symptoms and effects, both acute and delayed, may cause anemia, cough, CNS depression, drowsiness, headache, heart damage, lassitude, weakness, exhaustion, liver damage, narcosis, reproductive effects, teratogenic effects. You can extinguish it with extinguishing power or water spray. If you're a firefighter, you need to wear PPE, protective equipment, and a mouth respiratory protective device. If there's an accidental release, you have to do a lot of dramatic things. Handling, ensure good ventilation, prevent formation of aerosols, keep the receptacles tightly stored, keep away from foodstuffs, beverages, and feed, breathing in case of brief exposure, low pollution use exposure, use respiratory filter device, use protective gloves. Your protective gloves won't protect you because it will penetrate the glove material. It's a liquid. And its trade name is SM102. Thermal decomposition, no decomposition if used according to specifications. Information on toxicological effects. This is really important. Acute toxicity. Values that are relevant for classification. It shows how toxic it is at what levels: oral, dermal, inhalative, irritation of skin, irritation of eyes. The product shows the following dangers according to internally approved calculation methods for preparation: toxic and irritant. Carcinogenic categories. None of the ingredients is listed. Ecological information. Water hazard class 1, slightly hazardous for water. Do not allow undiluted product or large quantities of it to reach groundwater, water course, or sewage system. I have to say, I think that's really interesting because I was deplatformed when I said, what is going to happen to the urine and feces of vaccinated people? Is the spike protein going to get into our water supply and our sewage system? That's our agricultural system. Immediately deplatformed, huge attack globally on my reputation. But I should have been asking, what about the other ingredients in the vaccine entering the water system? And then disposal considerations. Must not be disposed of together with household garbage. Do not allow product to reach sewage system. This product is too toxic to be allowed to reach the sewage system. It's in an ethanol solution. And there you have it. Safety, health, environmental, should be used with caution. So that's SM-102. And SM-102, again, is in the Mrna vaccine. Let me talk now about PEG. Polyethylene glycol is not a toxin and a possible carcinogen like this, but it is an allergen, and people can go into anaphylactic shock when they're exposed to PEG. So both the Pfizer and the Mrna vaccines have polyethylene glycol in them. And people, have very severe allergic reactions to PEG. For instance, this is Clinical Pharmacology, Journal of Clinical Pharmacology, February 2021. Interesting timing. PEG, that reaction, a case series of allergy to polyethylene glycol. And this is an abstract. It says polyethylene glycol, again, which is in both the Mrna and the Pfizer vaccine, also known as macrogol, is an excipient in numerous medications. Despite its ubiquity, including in 2 of the newly launched vaccines against SARS-CoV-2, awareness of PEG allergy remains low. We present 6 cases of acute hypersensitivity to PEG. Accurate diagnoses in these cases posed a challenge, and though the triggering agents differed, PEG was demonstrated as the common culprit. 4 patients were originally suspected to have a non-steroid anti-inflammatory drug allergy, and 2 had a history of chronic spontaneous urticaria and angioedema. Biphasic allergic reactions featured prominently in this case series. Diagnosis relied on a high index of suspicion, leading to a focused clinical history, supported by skin tests. So it's a potentially serious reaction. I'm just going to summarize some of these cases. Allergy to PEG is rare and can be severe. So table 1, the incident case experienced anaphylaxis after intramuscular Depo-Provera. She developed rapid onset sneezing, rhinorrhea, urticaria, profound hypotension, and chest tightness. So that was a different injection, but it used PEG, and she had an intense reaction. Dyspnea, stridor, visual disturbance, syncope, perioral paresthesia, angioedema. So bad things. The second patient experienced acute urticaria and angioedema. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug sensitivity was initially suspected, and she too developed urticaria, angioedema, and a hypotension following minimal ingestion of the PEG-containing osmotic laxative Movaprep. So she had to be treated with steroids and antihistamine, but she developed further urticaria 6 hours later, and PEG was suspected as a common trigger. Case 3 had urticaria and syncope within minutes of taking effervescent vitamin C, which had PEG in it, separately developed urticaria, angioedema, and throat tightness with difficulty swallowing. And anaphylaxis to clean prep was the presenting feature of the fourth case. And she was advised not to go near PEG given her allergy. And the fifth patient had multiple allergic drug reactions, chronic spontaneous urticaria, and angioedema. And she took a suppository, which had PED in it. And they had to give her adrenaline, hydrocortisone, chlorphenamine, and fluid resuscitation. God, so much illness. The final case had multiple adverse drug reactions, including anaphylaxis on a background of an allergy to drugs. The initial allergic episode occurred following a betadine dressing to a wound, which had PEG in it. She had systemic symptoms with oral and intramuscular diclofenac, oral solpadeine, and contact urticaria with various cosmetics. She tolerated PEG-free forms of NSAIDs and codeine. PEG was suspected as a common inciting agent. So they're saying this case series shows the different presentations of an allergy to PEG. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is that lots of people have allergies to PEG. It's very common. The results can be severe. And yet when people are taking the vaccine or being told to take the vaccine, they're not being asked, to my knowledge, whether they have an allergy to PEG or given a test in advance for an allergy to PEG. I just looked up urticaria, and it corresponds with so many horrible rashes I'm seeing online, people posting these hideous images of what happens to their skin. One person who contacted me, his mom died subsequent to having these blotches all over her body. So urticaria are hives. They are red, itchy welts that result from a skin reaction. They vary in size and appear and fade and as the reaction runs its course. So it is known in the medical literature, what I just read to you was from February of 2021, that PEG can cause hives, right? PEG, some people are allergic to it. They can have anaphylaxis, which can result in shock, and anaphylaxis can result in death, I believe. Let's take a look. A severe, potentially life-threatening allergic reaction that can occur within seconds or minutes of exposure to something you're allergic to, such as peanuts or bee stings. So I just want to say, all of these parents who are so rightly concerned about allergens that their children have to peanuts or shellfish or other common allergens, they're not being told that both the Pfizer and the Mrna vaccine have PEG, which is a known highly dangerous to some people allergen. People who are allergic to PEG carry EpiPens, and if they're exposed to PEG. And I know of a shocking story of a woman who knows she has an allergy to PEG, and she was told she had to get vaccinated in order to cross a border, and that her doctor, who had been treating her forever, said, you can take the first shot, and if you go into anaphylactic shock, we'll give you an EpiPen, we'll give you treatment. So this is my summary of what the volunteers have found in the Pfizer vaccines, SM-102 and PEG. SM-102, if it is similar to the version of SM-102 that I just read to you about in the OSHA documents, is a OSHA defined toxin and can be a carcinogen with a number of dangerous outcomes if you get it on your skin, in your eyes, if you inhale it, if you swallow it. No research on what happens if you inject it into your bloodstream. And PEG, polyethylene glycol, is an allergen, a known allergen, documented extensively in the medical literature, that can cause anaphylactic shock, hives, throat tightness, cardiac issues, and other serious problems. All of these appear in the VAERS reports, but you were not told that these were ingredients. And of course, the inside kind of list of ingredients was not included in the vaccines because it's an emergency use authorization. They didn't have to include the usual detailed list of what's in the vaccines. So I just told you what's in the vaccines. We owe a huge debt to the volunteers at the War Room Posse Daily Clout research project, where these thousands of volunteers are poring over these documents. We owe a huge debt to the specialized groups of doctors, medical researchers, medical fraud analysts, nurses, and other experts who are doing more in-depth review of what the volunteers are finding. We owe a debt to the lawyers who are standing in wait to take legal action based on the analyses the volunteers are coming up with. And this bears more investigation, of course, especially the kind of SM-102 that is included in the Mrna vaccine. But I have to wonder, as someone who has a loved one who got the Mrna vaccine and now has tachycardia, I have to wonder if the fact that SM-102 is in the Mrna vaccine and not the Pfizer vaccine, and the fact that the Mrna vaccine had triple the amount of active ingredients and 90,000 more adverse events, if these are related. Sorry to bring you such disturbing news, but it's better to know so we can treat all of our loved ones and try to keep them as safe and healthy as possible. Naomi Wolf, please support us. It's expensive. We've had to hire a project manager and various other staff to handle the volume of material that's coming out of this research. Please go to dailyclout.io and donate. Do a one-time donation, a recurring donation, become a member, support us, and let's keep fighting the good fight. Naomi Wolf, take care. Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf of Daily Clout, and I am asking you to please, if you like the video you just saw, support us, become a member, donate. You can send checks to P.O. Box 24, Millerton, New York, 12546, or go to Daily Clout, DAILYCLOUT, become a member or donate. Thank you so much for your support. Every penny goes for paying our hardworking staff, paying hosting costs, and paying our lawyers who have been leading the fight to keep you safe and free, to keep the Constitution safe and to keep you free. Thank you so much.